Hey folks, Able Body Experts Kevin Weiss and Scott Abel here, and we're here finishing up our series on gluten intolerance. Again, this is not technically about gluten intolerance, Coach. We're using gluten intolerance as an example reflective of what I call the diet mentality, which is aimed around creating perceptual bias and fear-mongering, which has more consequences than benefits. So if you need to replay that last 20 seconds of what I just said, please do so, because that is the gist of the argument. But we're using gluten intolerance because it's the vogue trend that exists right now. So here's more from the research. The gluten-free lifestyle does introduce its own problems. A June advisory from the Harvard Medical School warns that packaged gluten-free products may provide less fiber and fewer nutrients than standard supermarket options, something you referred to earlier, Coach. And so you're right up there with Harvard researchers. Imagine no one paid you for 2-year study.
I never thunk I was that smart.
Who'd have thunk it? Your education's showing. All right. So, in a recent study published in the British Journal of Nutrition, found that gluten-free diets could hamper the growth of beneficial gut bacteria. Let me read that again. Journal of Nutrition found that gluten-free diets can hamper the growth of beneficial gut bacteria, which leads to other digestive issues when the gluten dieter starts trying to digest a wider array of food choices, because eventually you're going to get tired of limited food choices and you're going to try to introduce wider choices. You're not going to digest them well, and then you're going to think, that, see, reinforces my gluten intolerance. I got gluten intolerance. No, you don't. So it just reinforces your idea that you're a victim, that you can't stomach or tolerate that specific food stuff, and in the year 2012, that just happens to be gluten. But if you followed along these other segments, we realize that this has gone from the year 2000, and then 2010, and before that the 90s, and before that the 80s. So again, the gluten-free lifestyle introduces its own problems, especially if you didn't have it to begin with, which again, for everyone who tested positive for it, 10 to 11 tested negative for it. So I want to get that across, and then these studies from Harvard and the Journal of Nutrition illustrate the problems that are posed, Coach?
Yeah, and that's the thing too, like even if people eliminate the gluten from their diet supposedly, and then reintroduce it, they're not reintroducing usually a whole food like oatmeal or something like that. They introduce a cinnamon raisin bagel.
Right.
Like, well, it's not much wonder that gives you a gut ache when you do that. It probably would have given you a gut ache anyways. And if you're supposedly trying to be healthier, which we talked about already is usually a crock, but whatever, you shouldn't be eating cinnamon raisin bagels anyways. So
as an example.
Yeah, just as using that as an example. But yeah, no one tries out their gluten intolerance by eating oatmeal.
Right. So more of the vanity and sanity.
Yeah, I ate pizza and that gave me a gut ache.
Yeah.
And it must be the gluten.
Or the cheese, because I'm lactose intolerant.
Yeah, whichever, right? Whichever happens to be the flavor of the week there.
Right, whichever victimhood you buy into.
Yeah.
You know, or you could have all that plus be adrenal suppressed.
Yeah, let's not start on that.
Let's not start on that. So again, we're getting near to the end of this, and I guess I'll finish it with this. So once again, what started as a parable that I told about, Coach, the diagnosis for a few, for a good reason, becomes the panacea diet craze for the many.
Yeah.
All right, so instead of killing 5,000, it creates victims of 100,000. All right, so you go back to part 1 if you don't know what I'm talking about. So in terms of the whole gluten intolerance, celiac thing, in terms of the parable, Coach, 5,000 people saved, 50,000 victims created, all through the diet mentality of cater to fear-mongering and creating perceptual bias and blindness in the consumer. Final thoughts, Coach?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that what it comes right down to is the consumer, like the food marketers. They obviously pay attention to these things, and they see when something like this starts coming up, and they rush
ride the wave.
Yeah, they rush products to markets because they got it's only going to last a few years,
right?
Maybe less.
And the more of it you see, the more of it you tend to think is true.
Yeah.
You
So-
think, oh wow, this is gluten free. It must be true that so many people are gluten. I wonder if I'm gluten intolerant.
Yeah.
Because you get bombarded with a message. Not that it's true, but it's constant.
Or people that may not even really know what gluten is. They see gluten free on there, assume it's healthier, so they'll purchase that over purchasing a regular product just because it says gluten free.
Which started with low fat,
Yeah.
low sodium, sodium free, fat free, all created
There's
buzzwords.
a reason why licorice was promoted as fat free
Right.
for years.
Right.
I think it might even still say that on the package.
So we've lectured for about an hour here, Coach. I don't know anyone else that's doing this for free on YouTube. Though this could have been part of any workshop that people would have paid for that I've done. So I appreciate you joining me and taking part in this.
My pleasure.
And for all of you out there, I hope you gathered something from this. I hope you actually sat down and absorbed each part of this lecture series. There's probably 12 or 13 parts to it now on gluten intolerance. What I'm really saying has to do with the diet mentality that caters to you, a specific perceptual bias about food that uses fear in order to create false awareness. So gluten intolerance is part of the diet mentality, what we call vogue trending in the industry today. Be aware and beware. This has been a long Coach 'em Up lecture on gluten intolerance, and I hope you got something from it.